My Burbank Talks presents another edition of Ask the Mayor, a monthly forum giving the Mayor of Burbank an opportunity to answer questions from you, the listener, and address issues important to the city of Burbank. Now, let's join our hosts as they welcome the Mayor of Burbank.
Hello, Burbank. It's Craig Short here once again. And once again, I'm here with Ross Benson.
Wow, I haven't been in this studio. I think I had hair last time, didn't I? Oh, no, I had a full mouth of teeth.
Oh, there you go.
Now I lost a tooth, so I might lisp and tisk and blah, blah, blah.
Well, we're having renovations done in here and a nice new computer
Yeah,
system.
wow. I'm pretty shocked.
But what we still have is our mayor, Nikki Perez.
We do,
Mayor,
and
good to see
we
you.
are honored.
Good to see you both. And the last time I was in the studio, I had a whole human with me.
You're one and a half people here, actually, yes.
Yes, I was. It's nice to be one person now with a beautiful little human on the side.
Well, actually, we're filming this the day before council reorganization. And so it's actually your last official day as the mayor of Burbank for now.
So we have to say Mayor Nikki Perez, because
absolutely.
Right now you are.
She is the mayor right now.
Weren't you supposed to be in bed at 5 o'clock or something?
Your days go very long when you're the mayor, though.
This is actually the longest day of the year for me because after this, I actually go back to being frozen and hibernating until the next mayor show. Just kidding.
Well, let's kind of talk about your year because the year is winding up right now. So I think the first question is, did it measure up to what you thought it would measure up to, being the mayor of Burbank? What was the thing that probably you didn't expect that you found you had to really do and stuff? Or what's the experience like?
I think I'll say one thing, and if our future mayor, whoever they may be, is listening, because we will vote tomorrow, the one piece of, I think, advice I would give is be ready because it is twice the amount of work. It is twice the amount of response because a lot of folks maybe don't know about our process at City Council. We have 5 council members who all get the same vote on the dais, but every year we vote for one of those people to become the mayor, which essentially means they are the chair of the meeting, they run the meeting, they keep the order, and they are ceremonially the person who is presenting the certificates, giving awards, speaking on behalf of the city. And although they don't get any extra compensation or they don't have an extra vote, they are the face of the city for all intents and purposes. And for folks who maybe don't know the inner workings, they look for the mayor. If you're coming from out of town, you look for the mayor. If you have a question, you probably want the mayor. And so the one thing I realized is I get a lot more emails, mail, questions. And it was pretty humbling this year to get a lot of asks to be at events and places.
Well, I'm sure most people don't realize how our system works in Burbank, where it's a rotating system, every year. They just assume, like a lot of places, you elect a mayor.
Yeah. So, I got to say, you and I are together probably more than your husband on some days. Blake and I are good friends, but your calendar sometimes has, people don't realize, 10 items on it. You and I can go from one ribbon cutting to another ribbon cutting, and then you go to a meeting where you have to be at City Hall with a group of kids or whatever. And people don't realize that one position. I remember a couple years ago, one of our mayors said, if his wife wasn't running the business, it would have gone under.
Yeah.
You are so busy. Now you went through pregnancy, you went through a delivery of a baby girl. On top of it, I saw you, I remember we were at one of the ribbon cuttings and you looked at me and you said, my feet are so swollen, can you get me out of here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and Ross, to his credit, was like, the mayor needs to go home and put her feet up.
Oh, I would say that more than once.
Well, you know what? Let's get into it. You are the first mayor to actually deliver a baby while in office, of course. Yeah. A whole new thing. I mean, you added to the Burbank population. One new voter in 18 years.
All I have to say...
What was that? How tough was it to go through a pregnancy and then everything else, while you're trying to do all these official duties?
Well, for starters...
Before you start, I got to say, the reason I knew she was pregnant, she was up on the dais and said, I need to go pee. And I've never heard a mayor say that before. I do recall that. And I said, Boy, that's kind of unusual. But then when you got closer to, birth, you were not holding a lot of water. You were just.
It is rough, man. And any of my colleagues can tell you it is hard up there to sit there, and you don't want to be rude. You don't want people to know. But I have seen all of my colleagues do the little tap dance where we're like, oh man, there is all this public comment left, and we still have the report, but I need to use the restroom so that I can think. And so now imagine that with a little human squishing your bladder.
Wow.
I very honestly, I think there were some people who were not. I think just rude, but you have to leave after you delivered, and they have to go and excuse yourself for 10 minutes or whatever, and you'd have to explain, hey, I'm doing things right now for my baby, and people didn't seem to care. It's like, I get it, but this is real life too, and you can't just, you're not a robot.
Yeah.
And you can't be treated like a robot. I mean, you care, and it's not like you're ignoring people, but, what are you going to do, cancel a meeting because... so
right,
or just not show up.
I will say, thank goodness you had a great vice mayor.
Yes,
she filled in a lot of times, and even all your council members. I gotta say, this last year, I shot a lot of pictures. You guys cover each other's butt pretty darn good, and some days you and I know it's a busy day, especially if it's a council meeting day on a Tuesday. But people don't understand when you get your binder. They get a binder of what's going to be at the council meeting. It is literally 4-inch thick, 5-inch thick that they have to read through the weekend, plus attend events. I mean, it's not, you're just ceremonial and you show up one day a week. It's a full-time job.
It's a full-time job that we somehow try to squeeze into a part-time job. And in a city like Burbank, so some places still can kind of get away with the part-time vibe because maybe they don't have a police department, maybe they don't have fire, maybe they don't have water and power. We have all of those things, and we have 105,000 residents, and we have the media and entertainment giants that we do. So it does become a full-time job, and I hope people will consider that in the future. This is not a small town council. There's a lot of folks whose lives you're taking into your hands and decisions that you're making. But to your point, Craig, I will say I'm really grateful to all of the council members, to Justin and Courtney, to all of the city staff, the city executives, because they went on this ride with me that the city had never been on. It was completely unprecedented. There is nowhere in the charter, in our council guidelines, that speaks about a council member or the mayor being pregnant and needing certain accommodations. And so that's something that Justin and I talked about. And although most people were great about it, I know there are a few folks who don't understand, but I hope it kind of paves the way. I hope this was awkward for some of those folks, but in the future, the next time there's a pregnant mayor, they're like, oh, she's just like any other job. She's pregnant and she's going to leave for a little bit.
It's just too bad you had to scold people because it was just, uncalled for, unprofessional on their part. So,
well, I think that is an overall picture how the decorum in our council meetings has changed. You and I have been watching council 45, 50 years.
Yeah, we go back to the days of Jules Kimmett and
Mel Perlich and
all the rest of them.
Conkey and we have a
Mike
list.
Nolan,
and guys would get kicked out. I mean, literally walked out. But now, there used to be a decorum when you walked into that chamber. It's gone.
Well, it's
unfortunate.
It's a swearing that bothers me too. I mean, I wrote an opinion piece about a year ago because somebody was going and using the F word, and I'm going, Mike Nolan used to always do that also, and Mike we'd talk every week. Call you on the phone, we'd talk, and I always say, Mike, I go, you know more about this than anybody else in the city. You make the greatest points in the world. You know the history, but all people remember when you're done talking is how you swore at somebody or how you demean somebody. They don't remember your message. So these people have to understand, when you swear, that word becomes what people remember, not the message.
That's true. That's true. And my watchfulness about it is, and sometimes I agree with what the folks are saying,
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And then I feel it and I understand that they're upset. There's a lot of things happening right now that are making our community upset. My only concern with the swearing is when there's little ones in the chamber, because sometimes there's parents who bring their little ones, and that's not what they signed up for right now.
Well, you have to swear, though. Your vocabulary challenged, in my opinion. Seriously. You can't come up with a word that fits instead. You have to use a slur or something. You can't.
And I will say, sometimes it comes from the dais, too, so.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So we had a little incident at our last meeting where it got a little contentious, and I thought you handled it really well.
Thank you.
But anything you want to say about that, or your feelings on that?
I would just say, if my colleagues, if the people of Burbank are listening, I said this when I took the gavel. My job as mayor, and I think I've done that to the best of my abilities, is to run the meeting with decorum and to make sure that each one of my colleagues gets a word in, gets to share their opinions, and that everybody gets a chance to talk and everybody gets to follow the protocol and that we come to a consensus. Sometimes even something that I don't want, but that's consensus. That's government at work. And I think the one disappointing thing for me was that it was working all the way up until my last meeting. It's like, I guess maybe
Literally.
one out of 12 months isn't bad. But that last meeting, there was a lack of order followed, and I had to bang the gavel at one of my colleagues to keep order in the meeting. And I just hope that as we look at the future, we remember that that's not what we want from ourselves. Because if we're asking for decorum from our residents, if we're asking for decorum and order from our boards and commissions, which we have done a lot of this year, then we should have that for ourselves. We should make sure we're not cutting each other off, especially the chair of the meeting, whoever they may be. And we should make sure that we can share our opinions respectfully, and we're going to have different opinions, but we're all entitled to them. That's the whole point.
Have you and that council member talked since then and tried to work out the feelings or anything, or did you kind of just let it go and you'll deal with it later?
And again, I think for me, it's not about feelings. It's just about procedure. For me, I was sharing my opinion, and I actually had the leader point that out. They said, there was some bickering. And I said, actually, no. There was a breach of protocol, and that's it. When I was responding, I was not responding to the council members' comments. I was responding to the constituents, because we had a lot of residents come up and share their fears, say they didn't feel acknowledged. And I think at one point I said, it's not just thoughts and prayers for me, because I saw that group had posted online, council is just giving us thoughts and prayers. And I hope they know that's never my intention. When I speak from the heart up there, when I say I feel you, I'm with you, I am feeling it. I'm worried about some of our residents. I have actually heard, and right now they are unsubstantiated rumors, but there are voices and rumors going around that a citizen of Burbank was picked up by ICE, a U.S. citizen. And
not the first time.
And it wouldn't be the first time during this ICE raid situation. But to me, as the mayor, that concerns me on a personal level. That is the resident of my city who I feel responsible for, and I want to get to the bottom of that. So I want those folks to know that to me, there's an alarm. The chief very eloquently got up there and re-shared a statement saying, although we don't have that substantiated evidence, we want that conversation with the public. We want to have that evidence. If you have that, send it my way. Let's talk. And I think he said something I really liked. He said, my job as the chief and us as the department is to inspire confidence in the community and to create that relationship. And that's what I want too. And so I felt a duty to respond to my constituents in that moment.
And I find, I will say, Chief is doing a great job. I will say we brought him in. You guys had several chiefs that you could have chosen, and you looked at his background, and he loves what he's doing, and he's open communications, and he wants, like he keeps saying, transparent.
Yes.
And he is. He got up there. That report he gave was he put a lot into it. Spoke eloquently, and that's how he feels. And that's when he was hired from Glendale. You guys looked at that. You chose somebody in that position, and it's just sad now. I know before your term starts, or when every year the council gets together, and one of the things is pointed out that you all get along.
Yes.
That is very. Craig and I have witnessed some meetings that it got nasty way before this year, and that's why that was instituted. Was you guys got to make decisions. You make decisions for a lot of people in this community, and you got to get along. You might not agree, and like we've heard, it's fine that you don't agree. It's usually not a 5-0 vote, but it's really you got to get along when you got to come up with these decisions.
We've done about 50 podcasts here, and during the election, there were people came in and had different opinions than I have, and I did not agree with some of their opinions, but I always had a conversation with them, and I listened to what they have to say. Now, did it change my mind? Probably not. But I thought they had a right to say it and the opportunity as much time as they needed to say it, because I think we don't listen. We don't give a person a chance to say their opinion and listen to it. You don't have to agree with it, but you have to be respectful of it. So I always try to do it with our candidates when they came in and anything else. So.
Also with My Burbank, that is one of the points. Craig and I, when we started My Burbank 15 years ago, we'll take a letter from anybody. We have some perimeters. We have some rules and regulations that we go by. You got to be a Burbank resident. I think you got to give us a real address and phone number.
And I check it,
and we confirm those.
Good.
But we won't hold back a letter. We are fair as fair.
I don't agree with them. I think it's as long as they don't swear and things like that. Okay. So we're off your point right now, which is not, So I just want you to know that I think what you're doing. And I agree with how you run a meeting, too. And it's just unfortunate that we have a situation where your colleagues don't have that same respect, And I think, they have their chance to speak as long as they want to speak. And once their time is, they're done speaking, then just listen to somebody else.
And that's my hope for the future. I mean, and for the next mayor, they got a tough job because things are not getting easier. These topics are not getting easier. And when this stuff gets harder, we have to find it within ourselves, each one of us, to be able to have those conversations, in a polite manner, and to be able to respond to the community in the way we deem appropriate. I know that we are all going to have a very different way of responding to folks, and we're entitled to that. So,
well, it's funny. I'm just sitting here thinking, you said recently that prior to you being elected, I did not know who Nikki Perez was. And I didn't have...
And I agree.
We talk, Craig and I talk all the time. And we had all the council candidates, and I did not know you. I will say I have not only worked with you, I love you. You run the city quite well. You represent it quite well. I love most that you're a Burbank resident sitting in that chair. Nobody knows this city better than you.
And you've earned our respect, too.
You have.
So you've earned our respect, and that's important. And I may disagree with you on something, but I still respect what you are and what you're about. So
you have witnessed your
that
parents.
That means the world way more than you agreeing with me. That the respect, I think that's so foundational, and honestly, that means the world to me from both of you.
Thank you, because respect is earned. It's not given.
Yeah.
You've seen your parents. In this community, your dad worked for the studio. You've witnessed it yourself. It's not like you're new to this city and what goes on with the businesses. You went to Burroughs. You went to Burroughs and Roosevelt.
Yeah.
And you're a homegrown kid. Not a lot of people sit in that position can say, every alley in this city. Where you can play and where you can't.
I gotta tell you, if we're gonna talk about like best, worst, hardest things about like being the mayor, that's been the best part. And very few people in the world or in the United States get to say, I've been the mayor of a city. The club of people that have been the mayor of their hometown is very small, and it is the best feeling, I will say. That has been so amazing, because I've also gotten to, you just feel it on this deeper level, I will say. Like it's nothing like having your 5th grade teacher tell you, I'm so glad you're the mayor. That's something beyond. Like I can't describe that. And that's been the thing I'm gonna hold on to the most.
And
I
you
think
feel
looking back-
responsibility too.
Oh, big
I
time.
mean, there's a, when I was a head baseball coach, a head varsity coach, you feel the responsibility of running a program. It's, your decisions matter. And so being a mayor that's a lot bigger than me, a baseball coach. Yes.
To that point, it is a double-edged sword. Like you said, I think, Craig, you asked me this a few years ago. It was on Police and Fire Day. You asked me, like, what do you feel now being on the council?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
how is
questions
it?
back then.
Oh, I remember this one because I've been thinking about it in my head. You asked, like, how does it feel now? The responsibility.
Right.
And I think I said, if people ever doubt or think, like, does she take this seriously? Not only is this my hometown, my family lives here. My parents, my brother, my cousins, my friends, people I grew up with, all of my friends, my life is here. Everybody is here. So every time I make a decision, every time I think of putting something forward, every time I vote, I think about all of that. And that is another huge amount of pressure. You think about sometimes maybe
And
folks.
your child.
And my child now lives here, You think about that pressure. And in a way, I think it helps me make better decisions because it affects the people I love directly. But we had the conversation, when you're at higher levels of office, maybe sometimes it's not as pinpointed. You don't think about that. Or maybe when you move from somewhere else and now you're in the city, you're like, well, I live here, but you don't think about the fact that this is going to affect your mom and her retirement. You don't think about the fact that this is going to affect your brother who works here in the city. And, and I think that's really important. And I've noticed now that we have more and more city employees who are in that boat. I actually met a couple of guys in PD at Spike's Memorial who shared with me, like, hey, we know this is a very important thing for you, and I live in the city. And that's important because you respond very differently when it's your community. There's a personal touch there.
That brings up, several years ago, we had a councilman that put a law into effect about nepotism. And I think that should be revoked or changed now because
That hurt our city.
it did. You watch your mom or dad be a policeman or a fireman or work for Public Works all these years, and you can't go to work for the same
Can't follow
department.
their footsteps.
And it's sad. And I think that should be changed now because we're not getting. If your dad was a cop or a police officer or fireman, you witness. You watch them work for a fantastic city.
Right, and if you want to do it now, you say do the same job, now you have to do another city. You can't do it in Burbank.
Zizette, for example, her son can't come to work here because she's a council member, and it's so unfortunate. He's a police officer in Glendale, just got promoted to sergeant from detective, and he can't transfer to Burbank.
There's firefighters who their kids have to go to other fire departments.
So, and that's unfortunate.
Do you know if it's until folks retire that they can't, like, once they retire, they can't?
Once they retire.
Once they retire.
Right, but they work for the city currently. No, they've
Right.
got to they can't be involved in the same department and stuff.
And it's unfortunate because we are not getting the cream of the crop. Because when you're born and raised here, as you have said,
You know how the city works.
Yeah.
And I will say, I talked to your mom and dad last week at the tree lighting. They're so proud of you. Being a parent, you want your kid to do well. And
Easy, Ross. Ross gets emotional sometimes
I
on these
do.
things.
Like I say, my kidneys are behind my eyes.
There you are. Okay, well, let me. I'm going to change the subject, but not the mood. Let's talk about what are you most proud of in your term of what did you accomplish that you are most proud of in your year as mayor?
I think I'm going to talk off the dais because I think you can talk a lot about, we passed this. And then I've been reading through the things we've done this year, and I am proud about a lot of those things. The housing enforcement unit went online during my mayorship. We had our Parks and Rec Centennial kick off really well. We have the entertainment task force that kicked off. So those are all great. But I think there's a saying I like, which is very true, which is people may not remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And a lot of times I get comments like this on social media, or I'll get this via an email, and people will say, "Oh, you're such a mayor for the people. You're like the people's mayor." And I love that because that's what I want. I wanted to be somebody that's incredibly approachable, somebody that you might imagine like, I talked to this person at Target, or I got coffee with them. it wasn't this kind of intimidating force, you know?
Sure.
And that's been, I think, the part that I'm most proud of, that I think I've been that approachable person for folks to come and ask me a question, or they felt like they can speak their mind. And that I think is something I hope continues, and I hope residents feel like they can get more involved. I've actually had that from younger people and even some of our newer residents, because Burbank is growing, and those folks who are coming into the fold, I think, and I wish it was this way for our country too. I think if you're coming in, why won't we welcome you? We want you to be a part of the fold, and we want to tell you, hey, this is how we do things here. Come join us, you know? And I think we have that right now. And I'm proud to be a part of that, part of telling folks, this is Burbank, join us, get involved, and we hope you love it as much as those of us who have been here for years do.
I once talked to an actor I knew, and everybody loved him. And I go, you know, I always hear great things about you. And he goes, I learned a long time ago that if you're nice to one person, they'll tell 10 people, and they'll tell 10 people, so that now there's 100 people who know what a great person you are. But if you're mean to that one person, now 100 people are going to know what a mean person you are. So because it's passed around, you know, oh, I met the mayor, what a great person she was, or I met the mayor, boy, she just was, you know, not good at all. But that's why you leave a good impression on people, because it gets around. You know, people talk to people.
Right. That's very true. You know?
Well, I will say I've witnessed to so many young girls coming up to you. I remember you either at Civitan Day, or you and I have been at so many things together. We were at Castle and Crown doing a ribbon cutting.
Oh, I love that one.
And the kids come up to you, and you tell these girls, you're a great example. You can do this too. And that's, you know, we haven't had Mary Lou Howard being our first female mayor. You know, we've had several, and I will say, in the position you are for these young kids to witness and come up to and talk to you, it's amazing.
I'll give you a first-hand experience. We had an event on Burbank High last year. We had Ralph Tadina, and I asked her to, you know, come up and, you know, just say a couple words or whatever in support. And then during the Saturday, I said, "Come over here to my dugout. I want you to meet my players."
Yeah, I remember.
And I said, "Here's the mayor of Burbank, everybody." And he came over there, and, you know, they've still talked about that. You know, I mean, you left a lasting impression with, you know, high school kids like that. You know, and there you were. You know, and it's good for them to see who our mayor is and to experience, you know, because they really don't. They're not watching council meetings. They're not, you know, unless you're on TikTok or something, you know. So I you know, I appreciated that, you know, and I know you had better things to do that night than do that, you know, but you made the time for me and the program, when it was really appreciated, and it went a long way.
I wouldn't say better things to do. I thought that was a great event. And I also thought it was great that what we did, you know, as a city, as a community, and the team. And I'm glad we got to recognize them. I was not there because I was giving birth, but I'm glad we recognized them at city council. It was actually very nice. Some of the parents send me messages like, "We know you're not here because you're with your little one. Congratulations." And I actually thought that was very sweet, because those were some of the first messages I opened post birth, you know, when you inevitably open your Instagram at, you know, 5 a.m. But that was very sweet to see, even in the moment, people being like, "Hey, we know we're being recognized, but we're thinking of you. We care about you."
It is good. So what about what policy decisions this year you had? Anything that was, you know, you brought up? I thought rent, you know, the whole rent thing, it was contentious all year.
Yeah.
But I think we finally have a framework now.
Mm.
And I mean, that was kind of your agenda too. You know, you brought the whole issue up, not the whole issue, but you brought it to the forefront a little bit.
Oh man, Craig, that's my white whale. That is my white whale.
So explain a little bit where we started and where we're at now.
So we started, believe it or not, when I was a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed council member in my first meeting in January of 2023, when I asked to agendize rent control as an item in the city. And it has taken us 2 years from then of study sessions, surveys, my colleagues, for better, asking for more information, asking for what other cities are doing. We have turned almost every stone. And where I landed, and I was very clear about this, I said it the day of because I wanted people to know where I'm at. I still think that a 4% hard rent cap would suffice. I think that would be clear, direct, straight to the point. And I do think that our local our property owners have a vehicle through the federal government and through federal law to ask for a right of return if they're not making fair return. There is a vehicle for that. Every rent control ordinance has to have it. Every hard rent control ordinance has to have that written in. This soft cap that we landed on, not my favorite thing. Again, part of my job is the spirit of compromise, right? And I also strongly believe that my job is to find the best outcome for people if I can. So, of course, I wasn't going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And when I saw, okay, this is where we're going as a majority, joined in, gave my 2 cents. And now where we're headed is staff is drafting an ordinance for a 4% soft cap is the unofficial term, but it really means if you raise your tenant's rent more than 4% and they cannot afford it, and they can verify that they can't afford it, then you and they tell you I need to move out. I'm basically self-evicting. You owe them 3 months relocation assistance. And that's what we're looking at staff to do. It is, in essence, the city of Glendale has this as well. That's the other thing. It's nothing new. City of Glendale has this. City of, mom brain. I don't know if it's Culver City. There's a couple cities down south. Sometimes I don't remember.
Santa Monica's got some crazy.
Just crazy. That's something else. But sometimes I don't remember. I know, surprisingly, I don't remember every rent control ordinance in every city after 4 hours of sleep.
They're all different.
But it's I say that to say, Glendale has this. A few other cities in the region have this, so it's not unprecedented and it's not something that hasn't been done or is currently working in other cities. So it is doable. It is, I will say, a sensible middle ground, right? And I do think council came to a sensible middle ground. So now what we have left to see is put the policy forward, see how it works, see if we really are able to prevent tenants from being evicted due to incredibly unfair raises. Because that was my concern too. When people say, oh, you just want people not to pay rent. I'm like, no. But nobody that I know and folks who have good 2 family incomes, 2 incomes in the family, can pay an 8% to a 10% increase. In many,
I don't know how I did it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We've talked about it many times, and
maybe you can do the one, and I know sometimes some of us, like me, I love to squirrel away and save for the winter, but maybe you can handle one. What happens next year? Because it can happen every single year. So that's what we're really trying to prevent. I'm not trying to prevent folks from raising the rent. In fact, I understand that they have to. The cost of everything goes up a little bit. But that's one of those things that if it goes up in exuberant amounts every year, can price people out. And
I know Water and Power is raising their rents on January 1st. That's by more than 4%.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the nature of the beast. And I know there's both sides. And I don't think there'll be a solution, an easy solution to that,
Oh, there's definitely no easy solution. And I'm glad you brought up Water and Power, because that's an example of the wrong way to do things. We, and no one on that council is responsible for this. All of us inherited the mistakes of previous council members from years ago, because it was 20 years of passing down the buck and not raising rates when we could have had, and it goes the same way for rent control. We could have had 2% increases for our residents that may have been like, oh, that kind of sucks, but it wouldn't break the bank. And now we're at the point where we had to do an exuberant increase, which was not what we wanted to do, or we would possibly give up our utility, which is also not something we want to do.
Everything else going on with that.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm watching, there's now we have the race for governors now on. We have that new guy on says,
oh boy,
and I'm going to fix the cost of living in California, and I'm going to reduce everybody's water and power bill by 25%. I go, how are you going to come to Burbank and tell us to lower our bills by 25% on a publicly owned utility? You can't do that.
You can't do
that.
So
that here's a guy just lying out of his mouth on television and just to get votes.
Aye.
Crazy, I mean, I just wish people would really listen to what politicians say, and campaign promises and everything else, and then hold them accountable to it.
100%. I agree with you, Craig. I mean, you've seen it. I have my list of the things I said I would do, and I I go checking them off, and rent controls is in there. It's one of those checks that I put, well, it's not what I wanted, but I addressed it, and my colleagues addressed it. Burbank on Parade is also on there.
And it's coming back, isn't it?
Yeah, shameless plug right now.
Oh.
Well, we can't call it Burbank on Parade. It will be Celebrate Burbank. And we have our date, May 16th, I will say. And we're going to have the parade and a car show and a festival in Magnolia Park. That's where it's going to be. And I can't wait to see you in a convertible.
I can't wait to be in the convertible. Oh, man.
I'm not sure if you're going to be in the convertible and then we put you back in the band playing, an instrument.
Well, give me a marching band uniform and give me a flugelhorn and send me down.
So, and we're just talking about the election for governor coming up, but soon your terms will end as a council member. Are you going to run again, you think?
Oh my gosh, you're putting me on the spot here.
Whoa.
If we don't do that, then we aren't doing our jobs here.
I will never say never. I'm not going to say.
No, you don't think that, but you know what? That's I'll take that as an answer right there.
The
the door is open.
I think I'm incredibly thoughtful about all this stuff, and then not tooting my own horn, but I do think, when folks would tell me like, "Are you going to run for this seat?" No, I'm not going to run for a seat just because it's open. I would run for something if I think I can do something in that seat. If I think that my skill set has something to bring, to that. And with Burbank, the reason I ran was, well, I know the city like the back of my hand. It's where I grew up. And the real catalyst, at least in the moment, was I saw while working for the state legislature that we were missing out on dollars, that we were missing out on bills. A lot of the housing bills that were coming down, I could have warned you at the time. In fact, I called in like a crazy 19-year-old being like, hey, I work at the state legislature. There's bills coming down that are affecting us.
Let's talk about it real fast. So once you got on the council, what did you do to rectify that situation?
So immediately, I was actually another one that happened in my first year. We started doing zone text amendments with our community development department, and we immediately put into motion the specific plans. The Rancho had been in the will they, won't they specific plan. We have that in place. That is coming up. Those take a long time to do. And I will say the state also continues to change their housing legislation, which means we are constantly in this game of chicken playing catch up. But we are now in the place where we are playing the game, not trying to catch up 3 years ago, and I think that's been really helpful. And that's also allowed us to look at the development that's coming in the future and prepare a little better for it. Especially, I don't think this is a good thing, but especially right now during the lull of construction because of all of the tariffs and all the pricing that our developers have shared is causing a lapse in construction. It gives us a little bit of time to kind of refocus and say, okay, what do we want that to look like in Burbank? I always tell folks in the city who tell me like, oh, we don't want more people here. We're done. I always tell them change is inevitable and city growth is inevitable, not just for Burbank, for everywhere. But you have two options. Either we can sit here and we can complain about change, or we can say, this is how I want it to change. These are the things I'm okay with, and start to direct our specific plans to look like that. And if you have questions about that, watch council in 2026, especially at the beginning, because we have quite a few of those plans coming back. Golden State specific plan is coming back. Can't talk about the media district plan because I live there, so I'm not allowed to,
We're media district adjacent right here.
We are.
Adjacent. We're not in the media district.
You're still technically considered in that plan, though.
No. We're adjacent. I went to the meeting and asked.
But they consider, I asked too, because there was that area, but they consider what happens in the media district as part of like basically you get thrown in there.
Okay, well, that's what I thought. I don't know why our little section's not included, but what do you do?
I think they include like a specific, it's weird. They include an area, but you have to have like business activity and change. And you should be happy, Craig, because that means that nothing's going to change over here.
No, that's good. We like that. All right, we had a council, a mayor, was it 25, 30 years ago, named Bill Wiggins, who lived over a block away from here. And when Bill Wiggins was on the council, we suddenly had a neighborhood protection plan put in here with streets one way, you couldn't enter, speed bumps on every street. This whole thing got done while he was on the council, and it raised our property values substantially. Yeah. I wonder if that was a fair political.
Nowadays,
Yeah.
we would call that a violation.
Well, you kind of wonder, but I'll
You
tell
know?
you what, yeah, we're all benefiting from that 25 years later.
Listen, myself, and Councilmember Zadi both have to recuse ourselves every time anything comes up from the media-specific plan because we both live down here.
Well, you have witnessed from your, I think I can safely say, you live near the ranch. You have witnessed in your year a big change in your sight lines out your front door.
That got built fast.
Whatever.
Yes.
And you witnessed it. You saw it get demolished. You saw it get rebuilt. I think now that we look at what is there is the future. It's not going anywhere for probably another 100 years. But you've gotten to witness a lot in this town, especially down here on the flatlands, as they call it.
Let me just add to that. I know where you're going. Warner Brothers is up for sale and going to go through a hostile takeover, made all those things. What does that do? What do you think that does to Burbank? Because that's their home is here in Burbank. So how does that?
I don't think most people realize.
I'm just saying, what happens if they say, you know what, we're going to just tear the studio down?
They don't own the property. That, if you remember, several months ago, Jeff Worth took over the property. He owns the land.
Not the main ranch. He owns the.
No, he owns the main lot and the ranch. He owns the land.
Okay.
Any company can come in here and they can do whatever.
Did you know that? Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Jeff,
I am the uninformed guy.
very smartly,
Rarely.
very smartly, Jeff Worth and Worth Real Estate, and it's just not Jeff, it's the conglomerate.
Right.
They own the property so that nothing can happen to the acreage that is there. We won't see houses built on that property. If a studio moves in and says, we want to sell a building and put up an apartment building, they can't say that because they don't own the property.
And to that, I will say, being careful because this was the subject of an agenda item that was requested by one of my colleagues.
Okay.
So I won't go too deep into it, but I'll say what I said at the council meeting. Again, I'm always going to respond to our public because we had a lot of public comment about this, and rightfully so. You have to think about it from the point of view of a resident. If I'm sitting here and I'm a member of the Teamsters, IATSE, if I'm a caterer that's unrelated to all this, if I am a business on Magnolia Boulevard, I am thinking, oh my God, that is half my customer base. Oh my gosh, I have relationships with the TV shows that come out of Warner Brothers. What is going to happen to me? And so we had a lot of questions like that on Tuesday, and we had a lot of demand from our residents asking us to cancel the merger. I will say,
that's a lot of power for a mayor.
I will say we do not have that power. I had to refer them to a little thing called the federal government. And so, there was a lot of information sharing in that sense, letting them know we don't have that specific power. But we did let them know we are watching and there may be tools at our disposal. And our job ultimately as a city is to wait for the uncertainty to settle because we don't even know who we're talking to right now. We don't know who's really going to be, the dust is still settling.
They're going to find it out.
Well, that brings up a great point, Mayor, is while you're sitting as the mayor, people have brought up that they want Burbank to write letters and change federal things that are happening in war-torn communities across our country. People don't realize you have control over 17.7 square miles. You do not have your letter is right like everybody else writing what happens in foreign countries. People need to realize, let's deal with our trash pickup and our community because we can't change things overseas.
And to your point, Ross, it's been an interesting balance, right? This year, especially because a lot of this stuff has come up. And it's been a balance because on the one hand, a city's main goal, and if you're not looking at this as a council member, you're messing up. It's your water, your power, your police, your fire, the basics, your potholes. That's your number one priority. But every now and then your residents will come to you with things like this, and you will turn to them and say, this isn't a city issue. And they will turn back and remind you that their family's back there. that is their nationality, and they want to know how you feel about people from their country. And you're put in this place where you have to be the arbiter and remind them that they're welcome here, that the folks who they have an issue are also welcome here, and that we have to coexist in the bubble that is Burbank together. You know?
I'm going to throw this out there about Warner Brothers once again, though. Back in the early 50s, late 40s, early 50s, Disney went to the city of Burbank and said, we want to build an amusement park. There was no Ventura Freeway back then. And they want to go from the Disney lot all the way to the mountain, and they want to build Disneyland here in Burbank. And the Burbank City Council turned them down. And they went to Anaheim instead and bought the land there.
I know.
So what would happen if Warner Brothers said, you know what, we're going to change our studio into like Universal Studios and do a big studio tour with a roller coaster like they put at Universal and make it a tourist attraction too. So there are things down the line, which depending on who wins the bid or whatever, could change the entire look of the studio, because that's an old property. Those stages are old there. That's why they had to tear down the whole the ranch and make the whole new ranch there. So
and that's
you kind of wonder what the infrastructure would look like.
That's where I talk about the uncertainty. We don't know. We wouldn't even know right now. We don't know what we're up against, what we're up for. What we have no idea how that's going to turn out. So that's why on Tuesday I told our residents, like, we see you, we hear you. We are also concerned, because at the end of the day, for us as a city, our main concern is the infrastructure and the jobs. We want people to keep their jobs. We want to remain the media capital of the world. We don't want industry going away. And that is going to remain our main concern as we watch what's happening, because right now it's way too early to say, well, I'm mad about this, or I'm mad. We don't know. It's uncertain. And we continue to remind folks. We actually put out a mayor's show highlighting all our past, and we gave folks a line in there too, reminding them, like, we highlight all of this to say, we know what's at stake. We're watching. We know it's uncertain. And when the dust settles, you'll hear from me again. I
would encourage staff, hopefully, that when they come back with the information for you, they'll talk about all the zoning in that area.
Yes.
And what can be zoned for and not. So, I mean, can they put amusement rides in? Can they change, because, we had a problem with our SB 35 stuff where we didn't get in front of that, and our zoning wasn't there in time, so we lost some stuff in the rancho. But yet, if we get ahead of this maybe with zoning, then maybe that might be down the line a better situation.
Definitely.
You brought up a point, an item a minute ago. I'm going to give a plug for your mayor's show, probably your last mayor's show. I watch those, and you did a great job. You went from the smokehouse for La La Land to, Disney, and to all the different places. Craig and I have witnessed so many shows be done here. We are, folks, the media capital of the world. You can say you were the mayor of the media capital of the world, and there's more studios here. Why do they keep coming here? It's our police and fire, our safety services, and how the city's run.
And I gotta give a plug for the film permit office. There's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of folks think we run on Film LA, and no disrespect to them, we don't. We just feel like we need the personal touch. And, a lot of folks have been talking about things like Culver City and their changes. I can tell you firsthand, everything that Culver City did to lower their police costs, lower their film permit costs, go back to 2008 levels. Great. Now they're at our levels. Now they are matching what we charge. Now they've reached where we are. So I think a lot of what we maybe haven't done the best at, or what we could do better in, is putting that information out there. So my last mayor's show was the beginning of what you will see from PIO throughout the year on our film permit office, on our process. They're going to highlight that. They're going to remind people, come film in Burbank because we make it easy for you. We have a person who is your one-on-one stop shop to talk about the permit, and we want to work with you.
And we should publicize it the way we publicize passports.
Exactly.
Because in the beginning, passports was kind of, we do passports. Now it's really advertised, and it's busier than heck in that office.
2 seconds ago, you put out 3 letters. PIO.
Oh, yes.
I got to say, Craig and I, our PIO department is run by Jonathan Jones, JJ, or he has several names to us. And next time anybody sees him,
Big baseball fan, by the way.
and also on a Tuesday night, check to ask what socks he's wearing. He wears new decorative socks every week. But our PIO office has worked with you, your State of the City, your mayor's show. They are fantastic. I mean, every department that you've worked with as mayor, you got a new police chief, you have a new, other library director. I mean, I can go down the list. Every time I see them come up for their report, we got a pretty well crew that you've worked with as mayor. And people don't realize you don't have the choice of hiring them. They get hired by Justin and Courtney or whoever. And we have probably the best city manager any city can find, along with assistant city manager. I mean, they're at every event. You can communicate with them. You can call them and ask them. I mean,
And I got to give it up to them. They've hired some amazing people this year. And I've had the chance, like you said, Ross, to work with each one of them directly, all the way from talking to Jose, our new IT director, about what's the best way for folks to apply to the city. And he had so much tips and that personal touch for somebody who was interested, one of our residents who was interested in IT. And so that was really nice to witness firsthand. And that's just via email, to our police chief who, not to make it back to ICE, but that's a huge topic for folks right now. And it has been hard, but it's also been a privilege to navigate this situation with our chief, because we are both stepping into completely uncertain and uncharted territory. And he has handled it to the best of his abilities. And he said, I'm learning alongside all of you. And it's been an honor to serve with somebody who's truly said that, who said, I'm working on this. It's unknown to us, but we want to hear from the community. We want to work with the council, and we want to navigate these hard waters. I think there's a lot of quotes about this, but I think sometimes it's in the hardest times that you find, your best allies. And I think I found that in all of the staff at the city. Jennifer Becker having to deal with this budget this year, I think in this time when we have had from the outside a lot of hard things coming towards Burbank, our staff has stepped up and said, wait, we're ready. We are ready. We don't know what's coming. We're going to handle the uncertainty coming from the outside with calm, with poise, and with dedication. That's exactly what they've done. And so I'm super grateful to each one of them.
Well, we've talked a little about the past and the present. Talk about the future a little bit now. What are the big issues coming up for the new mayor next year? What do you think are, yours was kind of rent control. That was kind of the defining, all year long. What's next year's mayor going to have on the agenda? Do you think that's going to be the issue that's going to kind of define his or her tenure?
I don't know. She's finding out to be a great mom. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I will say it's funny you mentioned that, Craig, because looking back for me, my mayorship literally started with a fire. Like literally, as soon as I became the mayor, we had the windstorms in the city and the LA fires break out. So my biggest hope is that whoever comes next does not have that disaster or anything like that come their way. I hope that they don't start with that difficult of a situation, but it is going to be a challenge. I got the first taste of what the effects of our federal administration have been on our local government. The mayor next year will have our first budget deficit. It is looking like that, right? It is looking plain as day. They will also.
The reason is we're losing a lot of funding from the government.
We are losing funding, and also tariffs have affected some of the larger businesses that do business in Burbank, and we have felt the hit. And that next mayor will have to navigate a budget where we're going to have to get creative in finding ways to make revenue for the city, and in finding ways to maintain the programs that we're offering, the staffing that we're offering, all of that. And then that's going to be very challenging. And I want them to succeed in that. And the other thing is, I know you mentioned rent control and that being an issue, but I think that's part of a broader issue that is nationwide. Affordability.
Yes.
Affordability is the issue of our times, unfortunately. And the next mayor is just going to have to navigate that in full force. I think, what is the first wave of what this unaffordability has been. When I came into power, we were all still, I don't want to say making jokes, but we kind of were making jokes about the cost of eggs. We were saying, oh, can you believe this?
Right.
Now we're like, can you believe this is still happening? Can you believe it's getting worse?
It's not just eggs anymore.
Exactly. It's not eggs. Now it's everything.
Yeah.
You know, and they're going to have to deal with a community that is going to come to ask us, in many cases, things that are out of our control. Ask us, what are you doing to make my life more affordable? And it's something I think we're going to have to contend with as a council for all of 2026.
No easy answer.
Well, you know, kind of, we're on the other half of the show, and I know you're a hell of a foodie. I have met you at plenty of places of favorite things that when you were mighty pregnant.
Yes.
We had food right in our studio. And when you were mighty pregnant, you know the city pretty darn well. You are a burger fan.
I am.
You also love other foods.
Let's plug the Burger Podcast.
Well, exactly.
And by the way, just because you're done with being a mayor show does not mean you're not going to be back here for another food podcast.
Well, she has already said, and that's where I was going, was she wants to do a couple more shows on what's good in Burbank and what you'll pass on.
I will never pass on any food-related episode. I will be here.
Well, we're going to look forward to
I
that.
think we'll do one in January. Absolutely.
I love that idea. We'll she'll have a little more free time.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
that's if Blake will volunteer to watch the baby. Let's give Blake a shout out. You know, Craig and I know Blake from previous electors that he worked for, different people in office. So, you know, he has filled in for you a lot of times. He's driven you. I remember where your doctor told you can't drive.
Yes.
And Blake would drop you off. Blake is here. Blake is there. You know, I hear Blake is a fantastic cook. You
The
say
best.
he has asked us. He wants to do a little burger war of his own and ask us to participate. We're going to get Blake in the studio with us. Maybe we'll get your mom to watch the baby. And we're going to talk about some food that...
Absolutely.
There's Hell's Kitchen, and then there's Craig. Blake is ready for the challenge that is Craig's judgment on burgers. He's up for the challenge.
I'm tough and,
well,
I think I'm fair, but I am tough.
And just to get a little serious there, I think, you know, you all know me. I love to joke, but I rarely cry in public. And that state of the city, when I mentioned Blake, that was probably the first time I've cried in public, because quite truly, he is the reason I'm able to be out here and do what I do. No one supports me like Blake supports me. Not just watching our little one, but in any time I'm frustrated, because it is not an easy job. He is right there, having my back. When I doubt myself, he does not. And oh my gosh, you cannot find a more supportive partner than Blake. So I've been lucky. I think, you know, back in my staffer days, Jesse Gabriel, my old boss, when I told him I'm interested in running for office, what's your best advice? He told me, amongst other, you know, technical things, he said, find a good person to do it with. He said, you know, you have to find a good partner, somebody that keeps you grounded, somebody that is not afraid to tell you when you're messing up and your faults, and somebody that supports you. And I could not be luckier to have Blake.
Well, you know, I wanted to give a shout out because people don't realize how busy the mayor is. And your first, you know, they call him the first wife or the first, you know, first lady, we have a gentleman.
First gentleman.
First gentleman in this case. Blake is just, you know, he's there. I have seen him, his arms full with the baby. You know, I've seen him change diapers. I've seen him feed the baby. I've seen him, you know, and all those things you have filled in. You have done your job quite well. And a lot of people don't realize Blake is there behind you, and also your mom and dad.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I am so lucky to have my mom 5 minutes away. My dad is obviously in love with the baby, but my mom is the one watching her when we're out and about. So she's been super helpful, super amazing. I'm so lucky. And my mom and I obviously have cried about it together, but it's something for us as a family of immigrants. My mom did not get to have that experience with her mom. My grandma is still in El Salvador, and we didn't get to have that support, that feeling. So it's very cathartic for us now to have that. My mom is getting to do all the things as a grandma that she wished she would have had as a new mom. And so I feel so incredibly supported. And I think for both of us, it's been incredibly cathartic.
We were on something together, and I asked you a question, and you said, it was a tough situation. I forget where we were. And you said, my first critic called me within 5 minutes, and it was your mom.
Oh, when our water and power went out. My first call was my constituent, my mom, my toughest constituent, who texted me and said, Mayor, my power is out. And that's serious because my mom did have one rule when I became the mayor. She was incredibly proud, but she did tell me, in my house, you're not the mayor. You're Nikki.
There you go.
And she's absolutely right. And I got to tell you, I think the best thing any elected official can have is somebody to pull them by the ear and remind them, you're just a person.
Well, I look forward to tomorrow's reorganization.
Yeah.
Here, I know your whole family will be there, mighty proud. Your brother, I know, I have included him in tons of pictures. You guys are a real close-knit family, like you say. I have a son that lives here in Burbank, and he knows if he calls me, I can be there within 5 minutes from wherever I'm
An
at.
Emmy Award-winning son that lives here in Burbank.
This is true. 2 Emmys, and he knows that I'm so grateful that he lives here. He loves the city. He won't go anywhere. I'm raising 2 granddaughters, and all his friends live here. And like yourself, it's kind of different, when the water here is different.
It is. And Ross, I do have to say one thing, though, while we're talking about awards. Have you heard, the mayor gets to do this really cool thing called the Key to the City. Do you know who received the most recent Key to the City?
I have to tell you, and I told you as you were hugging me, giving it to me, I was so surprised. I know where you are, what you're doing. I have your cell phone in my phone. But you guys pulled this one off along with Jonathan and your secretary, Sandy George. I've been told by so many people that she was so behind the scenes on this. Yes. Craig and I work with Sandy so much to find out, to book you for podcasts, to find out where you are. Sandy gets a pat on the back from Craig and I. But I will tell you, I was so surprised. I'm still kind of surprised and shocked by it. I thank you for it. I didn't realize when I looked at that slideshow, and Craig and I have been together how many years?
50 years.
He's witnessed. I've shot everything. He's called me at 3, 4 in the morning. You better be here or be there. And we know each other so well. And I have covered a lot in the city. Council chambers I've been in probably more than any staffer the city has ever done. When I go to calls and not my first rodeo, I will say getting older, but I appreciate being recognized and receiving the Key to the City. I haven't tried it anywhere.
Where's the lock for that, by the way?
Well, that's the thing. I haven't tried it yet, but I will say it is sitting on my desk. I look at it 2 nights ago. I looked at it and I thought, I'm so honored that people, I've had 200-300 people congratulate me. And I loved what I'm doing, as you know. I love making the mayor look good. I love making our city look good. And no offense, Craig and I came up with My Burbank for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. And Ross, you told me earlier today that no one knows Burbank like I do. That's not true. No one knows Burbank like you do.
Well, it's funny. I said that. I think our assistant city manager 2 days ago, if you're running for a board or commission, you better know where every single street is. Craig and I will ask you where Purvis is, where Gaylord is, where Colgan Court is. Because if you don't know that, you don't know the city.
Yeah.
And you know every street in the city because you were born and raised here, and it runs deep. You know, and like I said, Craig and I, we've tried to make Burbank look the best we can with what we do. We want the citizens to be informed, and there was nobody else doing that.
No.
And that's why we continue to do what we do. We love working with the mayor's office to come in here to do a podcast.
Yeah, because even 15 years ago, the leader was, they're not in Burbank. There's no local media in Burbank. It's just outsiders who thought they knew Burbank.
And I gotta tell you all, the format that you work in, you have the podcasts, you have the social media. I mean, Ashley does a wonderful job with her videos on Instagram too. You have Lynn out reporting. And I think all of that together keeps Burbank informed. You have Ross in the comments on Facebook. There are times when I see people commenting something and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is misinformation gone haywire. And I scroll, and before I can say anything, there's Ross in the comments. And I'm like, that's the comment. That's right. So I'll just like it.
Just yesterday, there was a call on Olive, and somebody said it was a family dispute. Officers were running in with assault rifles. You don't take an assault rifle to a family dispute. You might take a beanbag gun that looks the same, but if you're going to put something out that thousands and millions of people can read, do it right. Craig and I we check facts. We won't print something in my Burbank that hasn't been confirmed and checked, and that's the thing. Some of these people want to be the first to post it. Post it right.
And I appreciate that from you, Ross, big time. So to both of you, I gotta say I'm incredibly grateful for that in my year as mayor. You all have helped me have a platform, have somewhere to come out and say how I'm feeling, because it's very different than being on the dais. This is, again,
that's
personable.
Craig's thing. You can't say, we know that city attorney will watch every single word come out of your mouth, but this is a forum that you're allowed to talk. We're not governed by the city attorney. The PIO has helped us send questions to you, or if we need referrals, Jonathan is the best if we need to ask something. But that's the important thing.
Well, with all that said, this is it for you on Ask the Mayor. Any final thoughts before we leave?
Oh, man. You will see me share this, I think, a little more eloquently and with that personal touch tomorrow morning. We have, speaking of PIO, my farewell minute coming out. And I will just give people a little shout out for that and let them know to watch it, especially if you have kiddos at Jefferson Elementary School, because I will be sharing some letters that have been written to me and that have been incredibly touching. When you have a really hard day up on the dais, like the other Tuesday, or when you have, a resident who argues with you about something maybe you can't change, just can't find that resolution, or when someone heckles you online and calls you fat, which I've gotten a lot this year.
Welcome to the party on that one, huh?
I'm like, man,
I over that years ago.
Give a pregnant lady a break.
Yeah, wow.
But
I'm still waiting to deliver myself.
Oh my God. But when you're getting all of that, to come home and open my council packet and see a letter from a kid at a school who drew me and my baby and said, do you love your baby? I love your baby. And do you like Burbank? And I want to be the mayor. That just makes your whole day.
That's the paycheck.
Yeah.
That's the paycheck.
That's literally it. You're paid in that. And that's amazing for me to open that, to open an email from a kid saying, I am, a 12-year-old at Dolores Huerta Middle School, and I have questions about this and that, and I want to be mayor one day. And getting to respond to that has been so worth it for me. That's kind of what fills you. And I had, I guess, to go full circle, even thinking about State of the City, I had Marsha Ramos tell me something that I think has been very helpful to me. She said, every time you get something that fills you with that joy, that thing, that the little warmth, a letter, a cookie, a token, whatever you get from the public, put it in a box. Just fill up that box. And when you get that nasty email, when you get that death threat, because they come, open the box and look through the things and remind yourself why you're doing what you do. And boy, have I opened the box this year.
Marsha's amazing, isn't she?
She's amazing.
We were very close with Marsh and Dave, and we went to school with them, and one of the probably the best mayors Burbank has, and we've had, some great mayors. Marsh is one, and Craig and I will say you have been a fantastic mayor. You've done a hell of a job.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's it. I think we've gone as far as we can go tonight. But you will be back for some food shows. And remember, you're not leaving the council.
I am not. I am still on the council.
Mayor. You're still on the council. You still have the same power you did. Tomorrow after you pass the gavel, you have the same power that you had today with the gavel. So, and who knows? Your return trip for mayor down there, you never know how the votes go. So,
you never know. And I will say,
you must go to vote tomorrow. No, I won't. I won't put you in the spot.
I've learned the Brown Act by now.
Yeah. Too bad others haven't. I'm not going there. Okay. Anyhow, so thank you very much. Ross, thank you for being here tonight.
This has been one of the best podcasts we've done. Craig and I've enjoyed every time you've been here. It's just, we were laughing, rolling. It's a good time, and congratulations.
Thank you all. It's been an honor. It's been a privilege. And I am honestly excited to spend some well-earned time with my baby girl.
For Mayor Perez and Ross Benson, this is Craig Sherwood saying thank you very much for watching tonight. We appreciate you watching. If you're in your car right now driving, 2 hands on the wheel. If you're on YouTube, subscribe and like and all that nonsense we always need to do. But we will see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Tally-ho, as they say.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching our My Burbank video. Please consider a channel membership to support us, or head over to our merch store where you can pick up some great items. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the latest videos, and please don't forget to hit that like button.